Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the ANC elective conference is coming up in less than 6 months, and there are growing calls for some ANC structures for younger leaders to take over. The ANC Youth League in KZN was recently quoted as saying people over 60 must not be in the top 6. Let's discuss this now with political analyst Sandile Swana. Mr. Swana, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. Now, before we actually get to the latest names bandied about, I want to talk about the proliferation of candidates for the top 6 position. If we go back in 2017, it was quite a talking point, with some analysts actually attributing it significantly to a lowered bar, which led to many raising their hands, believing they can do better than the former president. Well, we're seeing a great number of candidates yet again. What does this suggest this time around?
Certainly the issue that the minimum requirement to occupy the top 6, and more specifically the presidency, has been lowered since the time that Thabo Mbeki departed office in the Polokwane conference. After that, we've not had anybody who is inherently qualified to be a president of this country. And the various offices, whether it's the office of the Secretary General and so on, have been largely occupied by people who are far below the minimum standard that would have ordinarily been required to occupy such offices. Secondly, the other side of the issue, the ANC as a whole is in a state of panic, because the trend of poor electoral results has been maintained, even accelerated. So the threat of losing power is there. Therefore, there would be a rush to the front of the row in the feeding trough and in front of the gravy train. So as many people would want to get hold of the gravy train before it actually leaves.
So you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that the same analysis or observation that many had then, that the bar had been lowered in 2017, and that's why we saw that proliferation, is the observation now, that you're saying that the bar is still low, that's why we're seeing so many people?
The bar is exceptionally low. I've publicly stated in 2017 that the candidates that stood, whether it's NDZ or CR, were not suitable for office. And CR has gone into office and demonstrated that it's totally unsuitable to lead this country. And NDZ took office in local government, and we have not seen the district development model being implemented successfully anywhere. We have not seen the turnaround of municipalities, and I want to believe that we can say with confidence that the situation in municipalities has worsened since she took office in any event.
Some analysts are talking of an increased level of careerism within the ANC right now. That if we had to look at the two dominant factions, the RET and the CR faction, that you've got even several candidates there in those two factions themselves vying for the top 6 positions, which some are saying then speaks to that level of careerism in the ANC. But my question is, did the party not miss an opportunity to curb this before they came into government, particularly as early as when Chris Hani noted it in that famous memorandum where he spoke of those who had become professional politicians and no longer professional revolutionaries?
Yes, Mandela himself in the 1990s highlighted the problem and made a recommendation. And the people, in my judgment, who could have implemented the recommendations were Thabo Mbeki and Cyril Ramaphosa. When Mandela identified, I think it was 3 categories. He identified careerists, opportunists, and criminals who were joining the ANC in the 1990s. And some of the comrades themselves, who have been long in the ANC, were starting to manifest exceptional greed and criminality within the ANC. Corruption, Mandela was actually astounded at the level of corruption that was already in the ANC and in the ANC government. And he said it was nearly threatening to overthrow the revolution itself. So, but Cyril Ramaphosa and Thabo Mbeki were the younger men with the key positions who could have taken that disciplinary action and rooted out and chased out of the ANC all those opportunities. They didn't do that, and they've not done so until today.
So it would be correct to say that what we're seeing now would obviously be on a higher scale, because if it was noted at the height of the struggle, when the ANC was not in government, nowhere near power or any of these privileges they enjoy now, that if it was starting or rearing its head then right now what we're seeing, where there is a proliferation of candidates, that some of them might in fact be coming for wrong reasons.
Yes, I think that over time, the accumulation of careerists and opportunists and criminals in the ANC has gained momentum. In fact, you'd probably say when Thabo Mbeki says the corruption in the ANC is systemic, it means it is in the bone marrow, in the DNA, in every part of the ANC. So what is difficult at the moment is to distinguish the true ANC from the non-ANC. Because really the amount of confusion, mediocrity, half-thinking, non-thinking is so much that you really cannot really pinpoint the real ANC as we speak today. So they are overwhelmed by the problem that they allowed to fester in the 1990s.
Then let's look at the candidates now. There's those that have now introduced the name of Limpopo-born David Masondo for the chair position, a position that some seem to have already identified Stan Mathabatha to possibly contest. What do you make of this? Because they're both from Limpopo. Would it not pose a challenge?
It will pose a challenge, but at the same time, on technical grounds, rather than political grounds, pure political grounds, on technical grounds, grounds of competency and potential, you may well find that people who look like Dr. Masondo are the type that the ANC should actually be promoting right now. Stan Mathabatha has led one disaster after another in the Limpopo, in the ANC and in government in Limpopo. And I think he has gone past his expiry date. However, the younger generation of Dr. Masondo, and right down to the student movement, when we talk about the younger generation, have not done any type of significant homework to win any position in the December conference. The people who seem to have done something are the fellows in KZN, ANC, Mtolo and Duma. I think they've covered some ground. Otherwise, generally, I don't see any young people who've been doing anything serious.
And it's unfortunate because it is a numbers game. And sometimes you'd find with the old guard, they would remember to do the groundwork, because you need to go to the branches and you need to convince them of your candidacy. It's not purely just competence as it should be, like you say, but nevertheless, it seems you need to go to ground level and work the ground if you want the support.
Yes, I mean, the younger guys, you'll probably find that they don't have the resource, the money that the older guys have and all that. So the real resource that they can use is their brain power and their energy to work the branches across the country, across the regions, across the provinces. And they have not done that. But that is exactly, no matter this year or any other year, they will still have to do that work. That work needs to be done. You cannot do political work without working the ground.
Do you think the ANC is ready now to progress to an era of embracing the technocrats, those that are highly competent? Because there was once an era, or where some used to say there was an era where it seemed they were shunned or excluded, or seen to be the clever blacks who questioned too many things, things of that nature. Do you think that right now, even somebody as highly qualified as Masondo, or somebody who's even more qualified than him, would resonate with the ordinary branch member who wouldn't view them as aloof?
I think the ANC can go in that direction with the right voices making that noise. That's not the problem. The problem is that you need to change something else, which is that the system of winning elections in the ANC, as Halima Montante has pointed out, it's about manipulation. It's about paying the delegates some money to vote for you. So when you say you want to contest, that is what you are contesting. You are contesting that system of belief and practice. Even if you don't have money, you don't have to contest it with money. You have to contest it with winning the hearts and minds. And that's the type of work that people like David Masondo have got to do. They cannot play the money game and win that game. They've got to be outside of that game.
Before I let you go, but what are the incumbent chair's prospects of returning? Because he's been quite quiet this time around, unlike 2017 when we speak of Gwede Mantashe. Here we're speaking of Stan Mathabatha, we're speaking of David Masondo. But what are his prospects?
I think Gwede Mantashe, with the current system of beliefs and practices in the ANC, Gwede Mantashe still stands a very good chance of winning, because he's one of the people who can protect a president who's disgraced and make sure he stays in office for a long time, including a second term. So Gwede Mantashe knows how to work in the mud and in the sewers and all the dark places. He knows how to get impossible things done. So Cyril will probably be counting him in his backroom.
Okay, so you're saying he's a man that still knows how to close ranks?
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
Mr. Swana, thank you very much for your analysis this morning. That's